Today my guest is Shiela Hayes, and Shiela comes to us from Norwich. Shiela is the president of the NAACP, the National Association for Colored People is its historic name, and she is the president of that Norwich branch up there. So today Shiela is going to talk about a project that she's involved with, and it's called the Sister Mural Project, and it's a project where we are working towards making murals for public art, for racial justice and education. And it has an acronym. It's P-A-R-J-E. And we just talked. Is it Parge? Parge? How do we say it? Shiela, how do we say it?
So you will find many members of the group say Parge, I say Parge.
Well, Parge has that accent aigu, like a little French twist. And the French are so famous and noted for their artwork. So I kind of like Parge, so let's go with Parge. But public art for racial justice education. So it's all about education at the end of the day and combining art with education. So tell me about that.
But it's but it's also very focused on the community.
And bringing people together. Love that. So it doesn't matter if you're short or tall, old or young, able or other abled, black or white, we'll come together and we'll work on something and build community in the process.
Right.
Love that. Love that.
With the emphasis is on the racial justice part of it.
Nice.
And public art is a way to actually, engage people in the conversation, engage people in the history of this area. Most of us forget that Connecticut played, and especially here in Eastern Connecticut, we actually have notable people that have been, I won't say forgotten, but we don't talk about them a
well,
lot.
we had slave owners,
right?
And we had the Underground Railroad.
Correct.
And we have people who rose up and helped people to escape and to live a better, different life.
Right. And and the abolitionist movement. We had elected officials. Even I didn't know how prominent Governor Buckingham was and Mayor Green of Norwich during the Lincoln era, before he was elected president, until we got involved with the emancipation, the 150th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation, and David Ruggles, who was a name that I had not heard of. He was born somewhere in the Lyme area, grew up in Norwich. His family, they were free blacks, so they were not enslaved. And at a very young age, he went to New York, started a bookstore, got involved in the abolitionist movement, and he helped to free over 600 slaves. Even before we heard of Sojourner Truth and some of the other, Frederick Douglass was one of the people that he mentored, one of the individuals he helped to help him gain his freedom through the Underground Railroad.
Well, those are stories worth telling, Shiela, so I am so pleased that you agreed to be a guest on my show today. So thank you so much for that quick little history lesson. I really appreciate that. And this is a history. This is our history, and we need to respect it and understand it and appreciate it and build it forward. The kids in our schools, I taught in Norwich. I don't know if you were aware of that. Yes. And those kids, our kids, need to know that we have people of honor, people of faith, and people of high esteem that they can follow in those footsteps and build a better world.
Right.
And you're building a better world for your work that you're doing. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And so as we reflect on the past couple of years, and between COVID and between all of the racial injustices that have happened across the nation, as our communities have reflected as to really around the diversity, equity, and inclusion issue, and that's a real conversation that we're having. That we have to be representative of all of those movements, and we want to be on obviously the leading and cutting edge. And we believe through public art, it allows us to bring diversity in various people from various faiths, various, like you said, various abilities, various races, cultures together. Our area has become so rich in cultural diversity that we sometimes ignore, I think, we ignore really how cultures bring a rich history from their own countries to our country as well. And we want to be able to have those conversations and also at the same time be able to put up public art in areas. So we're looking for locations. Some of them will be in the schools. Some of them will be in blighted or unforgotten areas like the wall in Norwich. It is along the harbor, but it's a parking garage. It just was sitting there. It cried out to say, do something with us, do something with me. New London's wall is going to be in the Fulton Park. That's a wall very similar to Norwich. It's a very long wall, but it's located in the downtown. East Lyme, who is one of the sister murals committees, they are looking to do something in the Flanders area. It may also go into a school. Some of the communities are looking to put them in schools, like Old Lyme is going to put one in their middle school.
Nice.
So so we don't have a there's no set prescribed location where it has to be. It just has to be where the community is engaged and feels like it's the best opportunity to utilize a public art as a display that then will invoke and help attract either performing arts, conversation, or just people exploring and enjoying what the public art represents.
Well, my brain is just working away over here trying to figure out a nice spot in East Lyme where we could put up a nice mural. So I was just thinking about that as you're speaking. So absolutely. And I think art tells a story. And I think it's all about telling a story and telling stories of forgiveness and acceptance and inclusion. So all of those things are really strong points that you're bringing up in this conversation. So I really appreciate that. So tell me, you've got sister cities, I guess is what I'm understanding. And tell me about the process a little bit. So how does it work?
So it started about a year ago. Parjay was started after the unrest and the protests and marches after the killing of George Floyd. And it was down in the old Saybrook area. There were several in New London, Norwich, all across.
Yes.
So the group started having conversation, and around March became this concept of a sister mural project.
Nice.
So the first two were New London and Old Lyme came together, and New London has a rich history, and Old Lyme was looking at it being a welcoming city, especially with some of its recent refugees relocating to the area.
And they have Afghanis living?
Right. They've been inclusive of refugees for many years.
Nice.
Down in the Old Lyme area.
Nice. Okay.
Right. And then Norwich, East Lyme actually came, and they decided to what community could they pair East Lyme up with, and Norwich became the other community.
Okay.
So it started off with 4.
So that's where the name sister comes from. Okay.
Right. And then we've started to realize that this really that you don't have to really link two communities together. You could look at because this whole area, the whole region, has a lot to offer. So we expanded it to say if a community wasn't interested and wanted to explore putting up a public art around racial justice, that we would look at that in the community as an individual and just call all the public art murals sister murals, because that's what they're going to end up being. It won't matter what community that you're from. So Old Saybrook, they were ready. They're actually working on raising money and doing their design. They're focusing with the community and the schools. Groton, the city of Groton, we've had conversation with the mayor and the principal of the middle school in Groton, a newly created middle school. So we're hoping Groton will come on, and then looking north to the Canterbury, Wyndham, Willimantic area.
Nice.
We'll be exploring that shortly.
Okay. And have you met with East Lyme yet? Have you talked with?
Yes, East Lyme. Jason Devo who is the lead coordinator for East Lyme.
Nice.
Sister Mural Project. So anybody who's interested in getting involved with East Lyme should contact Jason Diebel. Our two communities are connected through David Ruggles.
Okay.
And Norwich took the David Ruggles and his abolition and underground railroad work. So ours is more of a historical timeline. East Lyme, and I'll let Jason talk about East Lyme, but East Lyme, because of the bookstores, that was where everybody, East Lyme, David Ruggles bookstores. So I do know the theme will be somewhere around the bookstore theme for East Lyme.
Okay, so maybe along the book barn or someplace along that. Yeah.
I'm not sure where, but
Yeah. So the process is that you have a team of people who are working and finding other people who are like-minded and interested in having art tell a story and art bring back some of the history and work towards racial justice. And so we find some people, and then the next step is finding the spot where the mural would go up. And then, so we have the spot, and somebody does the design of it. Who does the design? How is that all created?
So there's a couple of ways. Our group, our focus is around the racial justice education. So we're really looking for BIPOC artists, but it doesn't have to be exclusive.
What's BIPOC? I'm sorry.
Black, Indigenous, people of color.
Oh.
Artists.
Okay.
So, the short term is BIPOC.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm learning here today too, so thank you very much. I appreciate the history lesson and then an acronym lesson. So here we go.
And so Norwich decided to do, Norwich and East Lyme, I think we're going to do ours a little differently.
Okay.
But the normal way that you would do it is work with Public Art for Racial Justice. So once you had your idea, you had a team together, and you wanted to really be a part of the Sister Mural Project, you would then reach out to the Public Art for Racial Justice, go to our website.
Okay.
And you would reach out, and our co-chairs are Eddie Long and Nancy Gladwell. And you would reach out and let them know of your interest to want to pursue having a Sister Mural Project. And so then there's a couple of ways to do this. That there's a call for artists, and that is issued, and we actually tell people, what the artwork that we're looking for, the public art, give them a little bit of information about the mural that you're seeking. You should have a budget, obviously, because you have to pay the artist, purchase supplies. You want to have community engagement as well as some type of ceremony to celebrate what is done in the end. Mm-hmm. And then we help work through that. We also have a partnership with Connecticut Murals, who they have put up well over 30 murals throughout the state of Connecticut, if not more. And they've been our partner to help guide us through the mural project. So that's another group that you can also look into. And so it's really contacting us, and then we help you to understand and how to really pull the process together. Mm-hmm. But the control is always at the local level. We don't come in and say we want you to do it this way, or have that you have to come to us for every piece of information or every approval, but we would like to make sure it fits under our theme of racial justice and education.
Oh, I love that. And I'm thinking, we have a Miracle League in East Lyme, and that would be a beautiful place to put something up. And behind that, there would probably be some backboard, is that what it's called, where you have a wall, basically a wooden wall, and then do some nice people of different races and ethnicities and abilities, because the Miracle League is all about helping keep kids who have other abilities and having them feel proud and doing something along that, because we have Jackie Robinson, who is an amazing baseball player, and if this is a Miracle League where the kids are aspiring to play ball, this is a great spot for that.
Awesome.
So great ideas and great work, and it takes a lot of energy. And
it does, but it's exciting. It's rewarding energy, but it is exciting to really bring the community into this project.
And when people come, they get the opportunity to actually do some of the painting alongside the artist or with the artist. How does that work?
So there's the people want different roles, believe it or not. Not everybody wants to paint. So our group, the Norwich group, has about 20 individuals and organizations being represented. So some of our people wanted to work on the logistics of the wall and the prep work and being involved in preparing it and making sure that when we do the unveiling that all of that goes well. Some people wanted to be involved in the research and the history, historical research that we.
So it sounds like there's a spot for everybody. If you like to get your hands dirty, I like to get my hands dirty. So I always like to dig in and get into the show. And I've been able to paint on a couple of murals. I haven't been like the mural artist, but I've made maybe a little sidewalk here or a little flower there or something like that. But all of that I think is just. I feel like I'm part of that project, and I love that.
Right, and that's why there's an opportunity for everyone. And yes, painting. We just held 2 community paint days. Now, our two artists, Amita Rawler and Samson Tonton, they actually use a material. I thought the old-fashioned way, everything was going to be painted on the wall. That's not the way.
Oh, how are they doing it?
So there's this new process that they use, a polytab. It was created or discovered down in the Philadelphia area, which Philadelphia is known for its gorgeous public art and murals. So you actually paint indoors.
Oh.
And then it's affixed to the wall.
Oh.
And you can't tell that it was put on this material. So people will have a chance to see it when you come January 17th, Monday. That will be our unveiling of the Norwich.
What time?
It will be 12:30.
January 17th at 12:30.
It's at the Market Street Garage on Chelsea Harbor Drive in Norwich.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to get some media out on that, right?
Yes.
Market Street Garage. Okay.
Right. So, but it's a fascinating process. We've been at 3 weeks. Fortunately, knock on wood, we had gorgeous weather.
So it's not inside the garage?
No, it's outside the garage. It's on the outer wall facing Howard Brown Park.
But you're using this tab technique to paint under a controlled environmental setting?
Inside, right. That's painted inside, and then you take it and affix it.
Nice.
Onto the wall, which is an exterior wall outside.
Okay, because I've always seen these murals where people are dangling in the air, basically on scaffolding and doing, risking life and limb and doing it that way. So that's beautiful. Right. Tell me a little bit about what that Market Street Garage mural is going to look like.
So on that, it's really a timeline, and we start with the American Revolutionary War. We had an African-American gentleman by the name of Cato Meade and a Native American from the Mohegan tribe, Samuel Ashbow Jr. They actually fought in the American Revolutionary War on the side of the colonists. Samuel Ashbow Jr., he was the first Native American to die in the American Revolutionary War. Cato Meade, he is the first Revolutionary War hero that we know that was buried west of the Mississippi.
So let me read this that you sent to me. Cato Meade is the only known black patriot. Meade fought in the American Revolutionary War and was the only black patriot known to be buried west of the Mississippi River. Cato Meade joined the 4th Connecticut Regiment of the Continental Army in Norwich, Connecticut in 1776 or 1777 as a 16-year-old, just a baby, right? He served at Valley Forge from December 1777 through June 1778, where he got smallpox and spent 2 months in a Pennsylvania hospital. Early military records show Meade received a soldier's pay of $10.04 for his service in the Continental Army. For $10 for his entire service?
Yes.
That's abysmal.
Right. It was, they were not, blacks were not very well compensated, and yet they fought on the side of the colonists.
They risked their life and limb
for
and their, their families grieved their absence, grieved their loss if that happened, and that he only got $10.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why, and so Cato Mead is a person who, again, is many people don't know about Cato Mead. I didn't know about him. My girlfriend, Beryl Fishbone, actually brought him to my attention in Norwich, and so he's part of the wall. And then we had the Samuel Ashbow Jr., Kevin Brown, who was a former chairman of the Mohegan Tribal Council, brought Samuel Ashbow Jr. to my attention as well. And so they came to the committee. So everything went through the committee. Committee did research, names came up, and so we started, figured it was best to start with the freedom first of the American Revolutionary War before we moved to the Civil War, or the abolitionist movement that led up to the Civil War. And so the Mural then starts to cover the abolitionist movement, Underground Railroad, and then we move to the Civil War, and we also have Aaron Dwight Stevens, who grew up in the Norwich area, fought down in Harper's Ferry, was actually hung.
Are you a historian by nature? Or
No.
Is this a new wheelhouse?
This is a new wheelhouse for me.
My goodness, this is great. But I'm just thinking how wonderful this is going to be, because social studies is so relevant today and always has been relevant. But if we can actually give our students, and adults for that matter, the opportunity to see this and to learn the history and to find out all of these amazing things that are part of our history right here. Right here. Yeah. That's just phenomenal, because I think if you can live history, then you understand it, and then it's relevant, and then you understand, like that $10, that 1004 that he was compensated for. That's just something that we need to know and understand at a deeper level, right?
Yes. Right. So then we come through, and we thought it was important to bring it to more modern time. So we do have, so we bring it to the 20th and 21st century. We do have two gentlemen who, one Hiram Bingham IV, who the Bingham family grew up in Salem.
Yep, they're still there. David Bingham, yeah.
And we do have some in Norwich, and he actually helped to free the Jews over in France in the 1940s, and he helped them to gain their freedom. And then there's Rabbi Marshall Meyer, who went to Argentina, and he actually fought on the international level for human rights. We have a gentleman from the Punjabi area, and I apologize because I don't get his name pronounced correctly, but Singh Kalaria, who helped to bring recognition to the human rights about what was happening to the young children in the Sikh community over in Punjabi, in India, I should say. So he is on the wall as part of our global human rights and civil rights. And we have one woman who was she actually wasn't originally from Norwich, but she was the first elected African-American, male or female, in New London County to a city council.
Oh, nice.
First appointed to the State Board of Education, and that's Virginia D. Christian. So that completes the individuals who are on the wall. And then we, because it is in the city of Norwich, we wanted to at least highlight some of the city departments and our volunteer fire departments with being honoring some of the first African Americans and some of the first women. And so they will be we'll be creating a QR code and then putting that information on the website.
And tell me, how do we access your website? Because I know you've mentioned this before.
Right.
So is it?
I have to come to the paper I gave you. So it is www.racialjusticeart.org.
racialjusticeart.org. No, it says .com. Is it .com or .org? Well, if we just do racial justice art.
You're right. I'm pretty sure it's .org, but
okay.
Or it could be .com.
But there is also a .com, and then you can do /coloring. And you've given me this, where it's actually Cato Mead,
Mead,
and
right.
then something that the kids could kind of do a little research on, find out more
Right.
about him, and then actually do a coloring thing or do an art project that would kind of fall in line with understanding the history a little bit more.
Right. So these are going to become part of mini murals. That's the I should say another art project.
A byproduct.
A byproduct of the murals.
Okay.
Then we're going to take the individuals or the people who are highlighted in the murals, and we're going to create mini murals. These are the coloring book pages. The mini murals are about, I think, 24 by 36, and they once they're colored, they get transferred onto a fabric. And then we have somebody who's going to sew buttons and finish them, and so they will become their own mural, own exhibition.
Love it. Boy, you have a vision and a mission.
Yeah, it's not all my vision, though.
Yeah, but you're spreading
Yeah,
it, and
yes.
this is all part of the NAACP, or just
No, part of the Public Art for Racial
just the
Justice.
Parge projects, or
This is
Parge? Okay.
Yes, Parge.
Okay.
This is really that committee. They're reaching out to partners. So what happens is to be in a community, they're reaching out to local organizations. And so the Norwich branch, they reached out and said, would we be the host with them to create the Sister Mural Project in Norwich. New London, their New London Arts Council, I don't want to get that wrong. I know they're a strong partner with them. The New London branch is working with them. In Old Lyme, they're working heavily with the school system.
Nice.
As East Lyme is working heavily with the school system.
Oh,
as
good.
well.
I'm glad to hear
Yeah,
that because I'm
yes.
on the school board, so
Right.
I'm glad to
Yes,
hear
yeah.
that. So, well, one thing I think too, like if you could connect with other nonprofits, because I know Outreach is all about creativity and knowing that creativity heals, and this is people who have perhaps had some incidents with mental health issues, so helping people kind of build back better after they've had some traumatic experiences. And then also Stars to STEM, which is all about the astronomy and understanding. So I know that there's some people of color, indigenous people, who have gone on to be astrophysicists and astronauts. So that would be another little opportunity to kind of connect the dots and align the stars, right? So Shiela Hayes, you've just been a lovely guest. So
Thank
glad
you.
that you could be here today. Continue to do good work, and I'll look forward to being there on January 17th at the Market Street Garage at 12:30. Looking forward to going on your website and finding out more. But thank you again for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.